All right. Now you can hear me. Sorry about that, guys. Want to welcome you all to today's broadcast. We're going to be discussing understanding self-care with Kelli, the grief guru. Really excited about this again to have her back. Last Tuesday, we had an awesome time talking about grief and understanding grief and how to get through it. So today, we're going to continue a very similar conversation, but it's going to be geared more towards around self-care, what that looks like and all the ins and outs of that. So we're excited about that. And thank you guys for joining us live. For those of you that are watching the replay, thank you for joining the replay. Love it if you take a minute, tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about what's helping you. If something blesses you, encourages you, maybe sometimes you have like an aha moment where now you understand something that you didn't before. We'd love to know about it. We'd love to hear about it and see how this broadcast is helping you. So before I introduce again and bring back our friend Kelli, just want to remind everybody and thank Paramount Solutions for their support of the broadcast this week. Paramount Solutions is a consulting firm that consults businesses, helps them identify weak points, kind of bring order to chaos. So if you have a business and you need some help, they're sponsoring this program this week. So you certainly want to reach out to them. Appreciate your support. We appreciate their support. There's a big vision here. Yesterday I went live and shared a little bit about what we're planning on doing, some of the things that are coming. And I did mention that there was an announcement that we're going to be making very soon. And I want to give you just a little bit of a hint of what that is I'm going to have a very special guest on my show probably in the next couple of weeks. And when I say special, I mean, I don't know if we can get any more special than this. I'm going to have my daughter on the show with me. And we're going to be doing a special about, and it's really going to be called Why Parenting Accurately. And this is the in-depth story of our life, the in-depth story of the things that we learned and things that we went through that actually led us up to this point to where we decided to start parenting accurately. You're not going to want to miss this, guys. We're putting a lot of effort and time into this particular show. The format's going to be different. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have probably some tears. But overall, you're going to see an in-depth, inside look at the heart and the why of parenting accurately. So as soon as we get some dates set for that, I'll let you know. But definitely, you're not going to want to miss that. So without any further ado, I am excited. I want to just get back into this. I want to welcome our friend Kelli, the grief guru. Hey, Kelli.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for being here with us again. To get into this, I know that there's a lot that we can talk about. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of news, a lot of things happening with you and what's going on and with the book launch and some of the other things that you're offering. We want to definitely take some time to talk about that. But understanding self-care, that's something that I never heard of in high school. It's something that nobody's ever really taken time to talk about or teach most of us on. If we're a middle to older age adult, I don't remember any class. It was never a thing. But now there's a lot of it. And I'm sure that there's probably some good teaching out there on self-care. And then again, probably some teaching that's not so good. So talk to us about self-care, maybe the foundation of what it is. I was thinking before the broadcast, understanding self-care and thinking about from a guy's role, when we talk about self-care, it's like, nah, I'm a man. I don't need to do that. And then mothers, they're so nurturing and tender. I'm sure that they probably just in their nature neglect themselves to make sure that they take care of their kids. So want to welcome, the floor is yours.
Yeah,
Let's go in.
yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate it. I'm so excited to share with parents because I kind of see two extremes happening in parenting, and it's similar in grief as well. I see two extremes. Either people go to one extreme and they don't take care of themselves at all. They're just busy, 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 go, go, go. And so as it relates to parenting, you can have parents who are so consumed with so many other things that they're not paying adequate attention to themselves or their kids. You can have those ones that are so just focused on their career or focused on whatever it might be that they're neglecting both their self-care and really parenting their kids. But I also see the other extreme where people can be so consumed with their kids and put their kids' wants and needs before their own, like detrimentally, before their own self-care. And they don't realize that they're actually compromising their parenting story, their parenting testimony. I often say, the best thing that you can do for your kids is be a whole, healthy, well-balanced person. Your day-to-day living example of that speaks so much louder than any technique, any rule, any consequence, any, kind of conversation that you can have with your kid. And so the first place to start, I think, in any parenting conversation is to take inventory with yourself and recognize, are you telling your kids to do things that you yourself don't follow? Are you asking them to walk with integrity and you have gaps in your integrity? Or are you asking them to be healthy and you yourself are not being healthy? And, nobody likes to ask that stuff, but that is absolutely, in my opinion, the place to start, both from a character standpoint, but then the self-care side of it is, are you healthy? Do you have appropriate emotional boundaries? Are you physically in good shape, in good health? Are you taking care of yourself that way? Because that is training children in the way that they should go. So when I work with folks on self-care, we look at 5 different areas of self-care. And so we can just do a quick overview for folks and they can probably say, oh yeah, I'm doing really great in that area, or no, I need some help in that area, because it's not about being perfect and it's not about having like all the right marks. It's just recognizing where you're stronger and where you maybe could use some help or some, fortification in a certain part. So real briefly, kind of the areas we look at are, that's a huge sleep, movement or exercise, food, boundaries, and laughter. And I want to start with the last one because a lot of people don't look at laughter or joy as a measure of self-care, but it really is. I mean, how much joy or how little joy you have in your day-to-day life is a really good representation and reflection of how well you're doing emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great question to just think about for yourself as an individual in your household. Do you have joy in your household? Do you have laughter in your household? Is it easy for you to laugh? Is it easy for your kids to laugh? Or is that not present? And the great news is that laughter is not hard to come by. It's not a difficult, complicated thing to create. You just have to be open to it, embrace it, and be intentional to seek it out, to find and create moments of joy and laughter. I teach people to be really mindful of the shows they watch on TV, the music they listen to, the things they're putting in their minds and their hearts and in their household. Having things that help infuse joy is a great strategy for your own self-care and just kind of the environment of your household. This one's silly, so I want to see if you want to do it with that laughter is actually contagious. It's just like a yawn. If you yawn, somebody else around you can catch it, and laughter is the same way. Mm-hmm. And you can actually catch laughter from yourself. So if you ever want to just infuse joy into your life, just start laughing. And it doesn't matter if it's a fake laugh, because within a few seconds, you're going to start genuinely laughing at yourself trying to laugh. Like it's an actual thing. It's an exercise that I do people. So that's one little trick and tip right there. If you just want to, it's great for regulating your hormonal balance. If you have a whole lot of stress and cortisol going on, laughter is just as good or better than, medications that they put people on for antidepressants and all this kind of stuff. Just laugh every day and you're going to release those feel good, happy hormones. You're going to bring down cortisol levels. You're going to do a lot of great things for your body and health and well-being. So Jason, I think you should do it. I think you should just laugh and see if you can catch some genuine laughter from fake laughing.
I think that the audience should do it. No.
I think everybody
wants to see me laugh. I think that that's really like it could be challenging, and I mean it's a bit challenging for me. I don't like my laugh. So I'm sure that
Really?
many people out there are probably saying the same thing. I don't like my laugh. No.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's true. I've seen it happen. I've done it before to where, and then it does have a way of changing your mood.
Right.
Like even if like the sky is falling and you're having a
Right.
hard day and you just decide to just laugh about it. I know that I've been at some points where literally I felt like the sky was falling, and then kind of just out of desperation just decided, just you know what, bring it. And you really like
Right.
kind of sarcastically laugh and sarcastically just say whatever, like it can't get any worse than this. And then before you know it, like your mood changes, and then optimism comes in, hope comes in, just through a laugh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the sayings, like I'll either laugh or cry,
Mm-hmm.
like you're at a point where you either have to laugh or cry and choose laughing, I recommend, and one of the things that I work with people with, especially with grief, but this might be applicable if you're in a very tense parenting situation or it's a heavy situation and it can feel offensive to try to infuse laughter. It can feel wrong. It can feel counterintuitive, especially people who are grieving. They have a tough time trying to intentionally incorporate laughter because it can feel disrespectful. Um,
Right.
and so to just kind of break away those lies that no, like this is about recovery, this is about your body, this is about taking good care of yourself. And just because you laugh doesn't mean the situation maybe isn't serious or that you're not in grieving or that it's, but it's about knowing what can help you in that moment. And that's what I try to people with is just give them a whole lot of tools. And people
Mm-hmm.
may find that some days some work better than others, but the key is to have a well-stocked tool belt that you can go through in stressful situations, or even better, continuously, like on a day-to-day basis. The more and more you implement these very simple, it just takes a few seconds or a few minutes every day, you're actually rewiring your brain and you're retraining the hormonal balance in your body to be conditioned for peace and to be able to manage stress. So these things you can do in stressful moments, and you can also just do on a daily basis. If you get yourself at the end of the day and you realize you haven't laughed that day, then do something to laugh. Go watch something funny or start laughing at yourself. Or another fun game is to just sit on a park bench, and as people are walking by, make up little monologues, like pretend you're in their head, and
Yeah.
what might they be saying to one another, or what would what are the thoughts going through in their head. And that's also just exercising imagination and creativity, which we as adults, kids do that so easily and so naturally, and as adults we tend to get out of touch with that kind of stuff. But any forms of lighthearted play like that are just so good for your own mental health and well-being. So
Mm-hmm. I heard once somebody said that like laughter is like giving your body a massage, like your
yeah.
insides, your intestines, your heart, your lungs. Laughing is like it can be similar like that, the same effect.
Yeah, because the hormones that release what goes throughout your body is a relaxing effect. That's absolutely true.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I know. I mean, if you're grieving and you're usually when it rains, it pours, right? I mean, if we're all
Mhm.
honest, things happen at the worst possible time, and then it's easy to get to a place to where you really wonder if the sun's going to come out again, where like
Mhm.
it just feels like nothing is ever going right, and then more things get piled onto it, and laughter can kind of break through that. And one of the main things that we need is hope.
Mhm.
Without hope, we really have no reason to keep pushing forward and keep fighting for our kids. And sometimes we just need a glimmer of hope. But laughter, I think, I know in my own life, I've seen where laughter can come in. When it comes in, it can really just break through some of that darkness and break through that feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah. Hopelessness and helplessness is a cycle that leads to depression. So if you feel helpless, pretty soon you're going to feel hopeless. How can you expect to have things change if you feel helpless to change anything?
Mm-hmm.
And so combating that is super important. I've read a lot on the brain science around it and on adversity. And there's this great book and thought behind the adversity quotient. So before we used to measure people by their IQ, their intelligence quotient, and then the new rave was EQ, their emotional quotient, and now the newest thing is the adversity quotient. And they're actually saying that more than any of the other ones is a predictor of success and long-term well-being. And the adversity quotient is your resiliency, your ability to handle tough situations. And they've mapped out the reasons, what it is, the components of that. People with a high adversity quotient, how they look at things differently versus people with a low adversity quotient. And one of the things is exactly what you just talked about, how people believe a challenging time is versus understanding it's a season, it will pass, that every day, every moment, things are changing, our mind and physical body is changing, circumstances are changing. But if you believe that this bad thing is permanent, that's going to keep you stuck. And also, how much you have let it affect the other areas of your life is going to keep you stuck. So if something bad happens at work and that instantly affects your personal relationships at home, your health, your well-being, if you're not able to separate out and understand, okay, I'm having this challenging thing at work, but I'm really thankful that I have all these other areas of my life that are going on, really well. That's going to keep you stuck if you let it spread to other areas. And that's what's so common with grief, because grief does affect so many facets of your life. Right. Let their whole picture be shaded or tainted with that, and that actually keeps them stuck in the challenging time. So I would imagine the same thing is true with parenting. If you're having a tough time parenting, or there's challenges going on with one of your children, and obviously there's nothing closer to our heart than our children, you can easily let that spill into your work, your marital relationship, your physical well-being. You can neglect self-care, and all that's going to do is compound the problem and make you less able to effectively deal with the parenting issue. So that's why radical self-care and taking really good care of yourself is the best thing you can do from a parenting perspective, and all the time.
Yeah. I've just kind of had this picture in my mind about, like, we can laugh to encourage ourselves. We can laugh to kind of break through, and, that initial feeling, if we're having a bad day or feeling down about something. So we can laugh, but imagine, like, what it can do with our kids if we laugh with our kids, when we laugh with our kids. As a parent, as a father, like, one of the most fulfilling times is when you tickle your kids and you hear them laugh. You hear them, like, the genuine, laugh. It's just, there's something about that can't really be explained. I just sense like that it bonds. Seeing joy come out of your kids is great. So I think the more time that we can laugh with our kids as a family, the better.
And have inside jokes. Some of there's nothing that diffuses tension like having, I've had inside jokes with both of my kids. And I'll just give you an example of one. My daughter Piper and I went to a hockey game a couple months ago, and it was this, like, kind of minor league hockey game, and most of the guys were from somewhere in Eastern Europe. Like, we couldn't pronounce most of their names. And there was this one guy who kept getting in fights, and his last name was Buzzkov, like Boskov. But my daughter tried to say his name, and it was really funny. She was like, Buzzkov. And so now it's like this inside joke that, like, whenever we're frustrated or angry, we're like, Buzz, and then it completely diffuses the moment. It could diffuse tension. And it's also something that is, like, just between her and I, so it's so important to have those things. Like, they have one parent, they only have one mom, one dad, whatever, and to have things that are unique and special to the two of you. I mean, those little weird inside jokes do more to keep us connected and bonded than so many other things, So people may think that they're trivial, or that it's lighthearted, or that it's, that good parenting is all about, like, morals and discipline and all this kind of stuff. But, having laughter and having fun and connecting with your kid in that way is so important. And I think kids follow our lead. Teenagers can be so sullen and in their room and dark and heavy, but they will follow your lead. If your house that's known for laughter, and you're quick to laugh at yourself, and you're quick to be silly and whatever else, it's contagious. They're going to get caught up in that environment sooner rather than later. So
And I think it's important along this line is that as parents, we understand that we need to be the thermostat and not the thermometer.
Right.
It's so easy. We have to be intentional. It,
Hmm.
it'd be easy just to be the thermostat and be able to have an idea of like, that laughter zone and what is the environment like in my house. But as a parent, we should be the thermostat and set that tone, set that
Hmm.
environment. And the more we do that, like you said, it is contagious. Kids will
Yeah.
follow suit, and then before you know it, you're a happy family, happy
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Parent. Whatever. Honestly, just real talk for a minute. Whenever I really began to take serious the idea of starting parenting accurately and going into the space and trying to help other parents, whenever I would think about parenting or a parenting class, honestly, I was like, it kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I don't really
Mm.
see many parenting classes as this happy, loving time. Like, what great! I'm a parent. More like, we bring our battle wounds to the parenting class, and we're like,
Yeah.
this is hard. Why are we like, what's going on? What can we do? Um, and so that is on my mind, and it, I'm gonna have to add like some element or some portion of this training and what we're developing to make sure that we remain happy parents. 'Cause,
Hmm.
when your kids see you down and see you upset and unhappy, where does that leave them?
Hmm.
If we're close to somebody and we're walking with them and they're down, the natural tendency, at least that I have, is to be with them.
Hmm.
It's not necessarily be sad with them, but I'm not going to be all like super happy out, like maybe would normally would be, but I'm going to identify with their whatever they're going through and be an
Hmm.
encouragement and walk through them. So in a child's perspective, if the parents are always sad and they're never happy, like it really, I think it shuts the door for them to be happy themselves
Yeah.
and question why, what's going on? Is
Yeah.
it me?
Yeah. That's why this topic is so important. And I think you can't, this is a whole like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like, move on. To me, this is so foundational. You can't move on to additional levels of parenting or discussion until you have this established because you can have all the technique, but if to your point, if you're sad and miserable and your fuse is short because because you're not sleeping, you're not eating right, all those things are affecting your mood. You're going to be so handicapped in what you can actually do in parenting. And what is another area of self care that I think is really hard for parents: boundaries. Like most boundaries is another thing they don't teach growing up, or they never taught me growing up. But having clear boundaries around what you're responsible for and what you're not responsible for, and how you communicate that and demonstrate that for your kids. So the best thing you can do for your kids is demonstrate a whole, happy, healthy person who takes care and responsibility of themselves and absolutely does not take responsibility for other people's selves and choices in life. And that's really tricky to do in parenting because we're given charge of this little person. And so we have to be responsible for them, to a certain extent. And then as they grow in their teen years, we have to kind of shift that responsibility from us to them, but demonstrating that. And so even if you are sad, because that's the other extreme parents can make is like they never want to be sad around their kids and they always want,
Mm-hmm.
things. And so now you've given kids the false impression that it's not okay to be sad or that healthy adults don't ever get sad, and now you've left them alone if they should have feelings of sadness. But I think a really healthy stance is to let kids see when you're struggling, but also let them see what you're doing about it, and that you recognize that you're responsible for your own emotional well-being, and that they see you going to a counselor, see you going to a church group, that they see you reading a book or doing something to improve, that they see you going for a walk every day, even if you don't feel like it, that they see you doing the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. You will come out of it, especially if you apply all these self-care tips. Everybody gets down from time to time, but you take radical self-care and you're going to come out of it. And kids need to see that. They need to see the resilience that mom had a really tough time, but I saw her doing these things, and then in a few days or a week, whatever, she was better. Like, that's
Yeah.
some of the best parenting that you can do.
Yeah. just like living life by example. You know,
Exactly.
I think the greatest thing is the most fortifying step, or the things that we could do as a parent, is to let our example match our teaching.
Right.
You know, let our example match our instruction. Not always easy to do,
Yeah.
but it is important.
Yeah.
The result I think that we get from our kids when they see that uh, advances so much, so much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think, I don't know, have you ever read one of my favorite books on parenting is Loving Your Kids on Purpose?
yes,
So good.
yes,
That's so good. I highly recommend that book to
yes,
everybody. And that talks about from such a young age letting kids own their choices.
right,
Everything, because that's what God does for us, right? He paid a very high price so that we could have free will. He gives us the dignity of free will.
yeah,
And he doesn't save us from our mistakes. There's consequences for our mistakes, but his love is never wavering. He's always there for us. And that's the representation of how we're to be with our kids. And so that was something that really freed me up. I had my daughter, when I read that book, she's about 7, and she used to forget stuff everywhere.
oh,
Everywhere we went, she would
oh
forget
yeah,
stuff. And then she'd cry and be upset, and I would get angry, and I would turn the car around and I would go get whatever she forgot. And then I read that book, and I was like, if she forgets something, like she has to feel the consequence of forgetting it, and
right,
I'll never forget the first time she forgot something, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you forgot that. We'll have to." She left something at church, and I said, "Well, we'll have to call the church, and hopefully next week when we go, they'll have it or whatever." And she couldn't believe that I wasn't rescuing her from her, but
how
she
could you?
stopped forgetting things. Like she learned, she felt that consequence. And so the next time we went to church, she made sure she had her stuff with her when we got in the car. And not only that, but emotionally, because we were in the pattern of she would forget, I would get angry, and then I would turn around and get her.
And save
And
her.
that was damaging for our relationship because she was experiencing my anger. I was frustrated with her. But once I made that shift and had her own the consequence of her actions, it was better for our relationship. And she also learned that she did
Right.
the stuff there. So,
Yeah. And the
um,
key in that situation is that you didn't know, you no longer took responsibility for her forgetfulness.
right,
You put the responsibility that she was trying to give to you, and
right,
then you put it back on her. It's like, no, this is your responsibility. Of course, this is age appropriate stuff, but you're right. And but imagine if we didn't ever do that. If we continued to let the kids give us the responsibility for their mishaps, and we take them, and we've all done it.
oh, plenty of parents do that
So
well into adulthood.
exactly, and I think that's the
Right,
thing. We get, and then the kids, and it may not seem like a big deal when they're 5 or 6, 7 years old, but if we don't break that habit, then they grow up thinking that this is normal. They grow
right,
up thinking that, well, no matter what I do, my mom's going to save me, dad's going to
right.
save me, and then they're 18 and 19, 20,
So
21.
unhealthy because you
Yeah.
haven't taught them to be a responsible adult, which is the entire point of parenting, is to groom them and teach them to manage responsibility and to teach them how to be a capable functioning adult. And so not only are they not able to do it because they've had no practice, they also have a disproportionate understanding of what you're responsible for. So now they have in their head that you're obligated, or they have an expectation that you're going to take care of that all
Yes.
their things for who knows all of their life. And it's hard if you for 18 years if you've given them that expectation to just one day and be like, no, now you have to take care of your life. That's why the sooner you start, the better. Gradually letting them understand everything they do is a choice, and they're going to own their choices. Even little ones. I have a 3-year-old in my household, and she, would pitch fits, and she'd cry, tantrum, and at the dinner table, and we would say, you know what, like we're having dinner right now, and we're having like a fun time. So if you need to cry, you can cry in your room for as long as you need. And when you gather yourself, you're welcome to join us back at the table. We would love to have you here. But it wasn't like, stop crying, you're on a timeout. It
Right.
wasn't discipline. It was just explaining, like, hey, our family environment, we're having a nice meal. It's totally okay if you're upset and need to cry, but you can do that in your room, and
Yeah.
collect yourself, you can come back. And after a few times of doing that, she kind of learned, like, oh, I don't want to be in my room by myself.
Right.
Get
Exactly.
my stuff together. But it's conditioning. It's exactly what you said, the whole thermostat thing. It's setting the environment for your household and putting everyone on notice, yourself even on notice, what you will and won't tolerate.
Right.
Your entire life is what you create and what you allow. That's it.
Yeah.
So being very mindful of what you're creating and then what you're allowing in your life.
You know, with three teenagers in my family, three teenage girls, I've come to realize that, you know, boys and girls are different. Teenagers, you parent them differently than you do when they're young. But I realized that I think that if you put more work into your kids early on, the easier the teenage years will go. But if you
Mm-hmm.
wait and then you show up in their life and you try to really parent them and correct them, and as a teenager, your work is compounded.
Right.
And the work that you have to do, you have to go through and kind of undo all the bad habits that you formed in them when they were little, and
Mm-hmm.
undo those, and then try to establish new ones. And that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I've got three teenagers and three younger ones, and I've seen that particularly with the older ones that, I regret now, not doing more of establishing those boundaries and establishing those good habits then.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a whole lot easier than what I'm dealing with now.
Yeah. The good news is it's never too late to start. Start today.
For sure.
It starts with you. If you can't establish a boundary for yourself and keep your own word with yourself, you're going to
Hmm.
incredibly hard to ask your kids to do that or to hold boundaries with your kids. So it starts with you, and just these are all muscles and skills that you can build, So it doesn't happen overnight, and nobody expects you to be perfect. It's just about awareness and mindfulness and improvement, to take a look at these areas and where are you doing well, where could you use some improvement, and then what are simple things that you can implement consistently to see improvement. So
Right.
is one, boundaries as one. Let's talk about eating really quick.
Hmm.
I don't know, I'm not here to, everybody has their choice about what to eat, and I love food just like everybody else, but the healthy, I've found the healthier I get, the healthier I eat. When I go eat fast food or Chinese food, I love Chinese food, but I notice such a distinct feeling because I eat primarily healthy. When I eat unhealthy, feel so sluggish and so
Yucky.
foggy and so whatever. And so it really does affect your mood. It does affect your ability to think. It affects your tolerance and your patience, to have patience with kids.
Right.
And so and not only that, but again, this is an area that kids are going to model what you do. And it's really easy. They'll eat what you put in front of them when they're little. And our taste buds change, and you can acquire taste to anything. So if you've been giving your kids chicken nuggets and fast food and sugar, their little palate is conditioned, and they're to crave sugar and to be really irritable when they're hungry and to go through those blood sugar highs and lows. So nobody's asking you to just go vegan or anything like that. But if you can take a look at, what's the quality of food we're eating, and what are we doing things in our diet that would undermine or circumvent what we're trying to do in our relationships and emotionally and mental health, because it
Yeah.
does absolutely make a difference.
Definitely. I've seen that in my own life when I've gone through seasons where I eat better, you get on a diet, or you just start trying to change, the fried stuff or just different things. And it's hard at first. It's maybe hard, but then you do get into a rhythm, and your body gets cleansed, and you start to feel better mentally, emotionally, every way.
Yeah.
Um, and then you go get that double cheeseburger or that ultimate cheeseburger from Jack in the Box, and then after that, you don't feel so good.
Yeah.
It's really crazy how conditioned you can become, and how,
Every,
or on the other side, how desensitized you can become to that.
everything. If I could like get people to understand one concept and only one concept, it's that you're forever changing.
Hmm.
Programmable. Your taste buds are programmable. The thoughts you're thinking are programmable. The way your body responds to exercise is programmable. So whatever you do consistently, you're wiring in that change. And your kids are the exact same way. So like whatever you're doing consistently, you are programming that into your kids. And so that's great news that if you've been to just help understand that if you've been programming in negative things or bad food,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, you got to understand you've been putting that in for a long time. It's not going to change over that. Starting today and tomorrow and whatever else, you can choose to program in something else. There's nothing that can't be changed. There's nothing that
Right.
can be programmed out, or, to make a different choice and program it in.
Yeah. So we have time to go through one more topic in the area of self care, and you mentioned it earlier, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and to learn more about sleep and how important
Yes.
sleep is in today's society. Many people work two jobs, or we're pulled between so many different commitments and our
Mm-hmm.
kids after school programs. Sleep is something that is usually the first thing to go when we get busy.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
think about rearranging our schedule. We naturally just tend to cut out sleep. We're like, oh, I can still
Yeah.
do all these things. I'll just sleep less, or I'll sleep faster.
Yeah.
Right?
Sleep is so important. And so there's a couple of things if you're having trouble with your sleep, I know so many people that have a tough time falling, or they fall asleep and they wake up in the middle of the night. So I just want to go over a couple. This used to be a problem for me several years ago. My mind was racing so much. I couldn't slow my mind down to sleep. And then I would wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to fall back to sleep. And that perpetuates this spiral of stress and chaos and out of control and not equipped to handle
Yeah.
anything else that comes to your life. So taking back your sleep is going to move mountains for you in terms of being able to tackle your day and have the emotional energy, the intellectual capacity that you need to do all that stuff. So a couple tips: set a schedule, go to bed at the same time every day as much as possible. Don't watch people who watch TV in their bed or watch TV right before they go to
Oh
bed,
no.
relaxing them. They think it's helping them go to sleep. You're actually not. The types of rays coming at your eyes does something to your stimulates thinking, that gets you all hyped up. It doesn't help you to sleep. So they recommend for at least a half an hour or an hour before going to bed to not be staring at a screen of any kind, TV or laptop or anything. Don't be on your cell phone in your bed and then trying to go to sleep. Um, if you have trouble going to sleep, take a warm bath or a warm shower before you go to bed. You can do stretching. There's tons of natural, like lavender and chamomile and things like that. You can spray little stuff on your pillows. All of those things can naturally help you relax and go to sleep. But if you find that here's my two favorite, and the one that finally did it for me. There's two little mind tricks that kind of tire your brain out and get it ready for sleep. So one is counting backwards, which everybody has heard. Count backwards from 100, but the trick is you have to see in your head. And as you're counting, you have to visualize the number. And if you can't see the number, you have to start back at 100 and do that. The other one, and this was my favorite, is to listen to classical music, but don't just listen to the music, listen for one instrument. So if you're listening to classical music, just listen for the flute or listen for the violin. And you'll find that your brain is having to strain so hard to try to hear that one instrument that it loses focus on everything else. And that was the one that did it for me. I did that for a while, and eventually my body got conditioned that, oh, we're in our bedroom, the lights are off. My brain just knew it was time to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some tips for going to sleep. I haven't woken up to an alarm in years, and that's just me. Like, I just build my life in a way, and my body wakes up when it wakes up. I really recommend that if it's at all possible for people, because that's such a more natural, calm way to wake up instead of being jarred awake by an
Mm-hmm.
alarm. And chances are, if you need an alarm, it's probably because you're not getting enough sleep.
That's
You're not
true.
going to bed early enough, and you're not doing the relaxation things, or you're waking up in the middle of the night. So do what you can to take responsibility for your sleep and protect your sleep. And your sleep is like a gift that you give to yourself. It's God's design for our bodies to rest and restore and recharge. And so if you neglect that, how can you possibly expect your body and mind to perform for you throughout the day?
Yeah. I mean, even physically, your body heals faster while you rest. Uh, like you said, you get recharged.
Yeah.
And so we can only go so long. And I mean, I know people that kind of brag on, oh, I sleep 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
And they kind of use that as a trophy. And I'm like, dude, you calm down. You might die early. You know, but yeah.
Yeah, everybody's different, but I mean, they say at least 6 is pretty much what most adults need. If you're
Yeah.
getting anything less than, I personally, I'm a 7 to 8 hour person. Like if it's less than 7 hours, I'm feeling it the next day. And so
Yeah.
to just know yourself and know your rhythms and do what you can. And again, it's all about consistency. Like, yeah, you're going to have late nights, you're going to have whatever, but if you're consistently doing things to protect your sleep and you understand the value of your sleep, and again, demonstrating that for your kids, don't let your kids stay up all hours and
Right.
watch TV or whatever, and then expect them to have the coping skills they need to get through a day at school.
Yeah. So true. So important.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have a lot of resources on your website.
Yeah.
You've got a book that's coming out next week, or in about a week and a half or so.
Yeah.
Super excited about that, and that's on grieving, the actual grieving process, or I think you said the title of it is "You're Not Crazy, You're Grieving."
Yep.
That's
Yep.
so
That is
catchy.
the
That's
tip.
so good. I'm excited about that. And you're giving, to launch this book, you're for a limited time, you're giving it out at an incredibly low price, 99 cents
Yeah.
to get the first digital copies of your book. And so, is that link available on your website as well?
Well,
Or
they can at this point yeah, they can go to you're not crazy, you're grieving.com and sign up to join the wait list for it. And then we'll be sending invites out to people with a link where they can get that at that 99 cent price. So yeah, my next Sunday is when the book launches. It's February 16th and it's my birthday. And so for my birthday, I want to
oh, that's
give
awesome.
the gift of this book for, to get it in as many hands as possible. Honestly, it's just my heart's desire and intent because I know there's a whole lot of people. A lot of the stuff we're talking about today, it hasn't been taught, or there aren't great resources out there for it, or people just need help in these areas. And so I want to just help. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Awesome. Well, if you have ever, experienced grief, or maybe maybe you went through something a long time ago and you still feel down about it, and maybe you feel like that grief is still lingering, that's certainly not a way to live. And there's a lot of life after grieving, and a lot of joy and happiness. And this book, I believe, will be a key instrument to help you overcome grief and get through it. And I think it's important as parents that we learn how to grieve properly, because it is a process. It is something that, we all have disappointments in our life, but what do we do with those, and how do we respond to them? Our kids are watching us, and they're taking notes, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. And many of the things that we model, they'll pick up and they'll start doing. So, processing grief is going to be an important part in your life and being healthy. And it will affect the way you parent. If you're hurting, chances are you're going to hurt your kids. So definitely encourage you guys to take advantage of this offer. We'll put the website and all the links that you need to connect with Kelli. We'll give you the link to the book, and then we'll give you the link to her page that has a lot of resources on there that she's developed over many years of experience, much pain that you've experienced. And so you'll be able to learn and shorten your own pain. I mean, how many of you would like that? Going through something. I'd much rather learn from the wisdom and from the experience of somebody else than to have to go through it myself and learn the hard way.
Amen.
So we'll make that available. We'll put that link here in the comments shortly, just after the broadcast. But thank you again, Kelli, for coming on.
Yeah.
It's really good. Self-care is it's important, and I appreciate the things that we talked about and discussed here. So good.
Yeah. My pleasure.
So again, we appreciate you, and I'm sure we'll have you on again. We'll have you on again soon.
All right. Everybody have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you again. All right, guys. Wow. Self-care, sleeping, happy. I think my favorite one was laughing. It's something that we can never do enough of. We must take that time to laugh, enjoy life. This is a journey. This is parenting is an experience that is going to go on for the rest of our life. I mean, our parenting influence it changes throughout the years, but it never stops, right? So even when our kids get old and go get married, we're still a parent to them. Our relationship looks different and it changes, but that bond and that connection is still there. So if excited about what's happening, guys. There's a lot happening. There's so many things that's coming, and so many things that we're working on to bring you. We want to bring incredible value here. I see Parenting Accurately as a movement of hope. We want to give you hope, and I know there's many of you out there that are struggling right now to connect with your teenagers and preteens. That's an age that they're going through their own hormonal things. They're going through a lot of changes with peer pressure and all of the social media and just the different things that are out there that are trying to get their attention. Sometimes having the kids having your attention might be challenging. And so to help with this, guys, I wrote a book. I wrote just a quick ebook on how to improve your connection with your kids in 7 days. That is available on the website. You guys can see it's parentingaccurately.com. And just for your email address and your name, you can download that book right away. And there's some simple steps and a guide in there that will help you improve your relationship with your kids. Please take advantage of that, and take advantage of everything that we're going to put in the comments, the links that we're going to put in the comments for the resource from Kelli. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to have on Tuesdays is the next live that we're going to be doing. Diana Bingham will be back with us then. So you're not going to want to miss that. You'll see the event here posted shortly. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will talk to you guys soon.